Title it, Common Sense at Last. Stop the Wastes. The other day I was speaking to a group of graduating students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and I was sharing with them my surprise at the paradox of Africa's wealth in natural resources juxtaposed against its persistent poverty. Africa possesses 40% of the world's gold. Ghana now, we like to, as it were, pride ourselves as leading in the production of a number of natural resources. 90% of the world's chromium and platinum is here in Africa, 90%. 65% of the world's arable land is right here in Africa. Yet, Africa remains a symbol of poverty and underdevelopment, reliant on external aid, while its own resources are mismanaged and sometimes, bluntly speaking, just stolen by its own people and leaders. I will be remiss if I did not celebrate the 68th Independence Day celebration. I suppose I am a broken record criticizing the needlessly wasteful expense of scarce resources every 6 March by a perpetual begging nation. We've gone to the IMF 17 times. Potential that we'll go back again, right? A nation that is unable to get its many citizens out of poverty. That's what we do to ourselves. Spend a huge budget celebrating Independence Day. For more than 6 decades, we put children at risk in the scorching sun. Some of them suffocate, including the officials, security officials. They suffocate and fall. Yet there is little to show by way of a sense of the independence story. We spend the entire year teaching the children who march in the scorching sun on this day. We spend the entire year teaching them publicly how not to be patriotic, but to be partisan to destroying the country. Yes, many can barely sing the national anthem or intone the national pledge to save their very own lives. Children studying under trees without basic learning aids line up filthy and dusty roads to salute the very people whose corrupt conduct deprives them the modicum of decent life. I spoke to graduates of the KNUST about becoming leaders who truly have love for country and Africa. The experienced, skillful, and brilliant editor of My Joy Online recorded that quote in a scathing critique of misplaced priorities. Ayanini questioned Ghana's annual expenditure on Independence Day celebrations. Quote, what are we truly celebrating when we remain economically dependent? How many years on? I applauded Tanzania's recent decision to redirect Independence Day funds towards building school dormitories and infrastructure. And I called it a model of pragmatic leadership that we all must wake up to. Yes, some common sense at last, Mr. President. Commit the 20 million budget that has been saved to a pro-poor project each year. In our most difficult times, when 850,000 citizens were pushed into poverty, that's only the official number as recorded by the World Bank, President Akufo-Addo rejected every cry and advice to reduce the size of government or take advantage of such low-hanging fruits. In Kenya, a whole cabinet was dismissed in response to crisis by the people. Crisis to which the people cried to their leaders about. Akufo-Addo will not even reshuffle, let alone sack his finance minister, as demanded by his own MPs. The Kolebu Renal unit had people dying each day. At least 19 people were recorded dead over a period. Why? Because there was a debt of 4 million. Money, some of which could have been raised from the millions spent on the independence, or I don't like calling it independence. I like to call it Independence Day. We are still independent. We depend on IMF to survive. Imagine if the budget for celebrating the 6th March each year over the last 60 years, over the last 50, 40, 20, 10 years was committed to setting up 150 or even 10 people in some business. Imagine the half of the budget was committed to eliminating schools under trees. You don't need all the budget. Imagine if even a quarter of the budget was committed to any such need, to a modest health facility in deprived communities, like my village, Gambibigo. Imagine the 95% savings from the 20 million cedi budgets for this year's celebration was committed to farming or even put in an investment, and the proceeds used to support farmers or educational scholarships. Mr. President, that's what I say is common sense at last. And let not this be the first and the last. Let this be the new order. That is what is meant by reset. And that is my take.